Of course, we touched earlier on some of the limitations. You mentioned, for example, there are two systems in Slovenia. One of them has a larger network, the government-backed one, but has in some ways a lower impact. Then there's a private one, which has a smaller network, but manages to achieve more. But you also said that for many businesses on the fringes of these networks, the benefits are going to be limited. So perhaps now we could talk a bit about more about those limitations and how we might get around those, particularly in the context of systems which are owned and governed by the business community itself, such as Local Loop Merseyside, but also possibly some of the additional techniques and mechanisms which could be added to multilateral trade credit set-off, which we refer to as loop clearing, and what the future of these systems might be from both the governance but also the technical points of view.
Yeah. Okay, so how to bring people from the fringes into center? So that means the community has to create concepts that enable fringes to participate in the center of the network. So going from the community perspective, that would mean creating projects where everyone is happy to participate in any way, either as a supplier or being a customer to such a project, or you can even work with donations. So if you have a nice social project and you say, okay, let's enhance the financial position of this social project in Liverpool by enabling firms to donate not in money but in kind. So now I'm on the fringes. I cannot participate in multilateral trade credit setup because I'm on the fringes and I'm not part of any cycle. But I do have depth to members of the community. Now we have a community project. It can be about social cause, food safety, whatever. Yeah? And I have an opportunity to participate in kind because I don't have a lot of cash, so cash is a stressful item for me. But I'm happy to donate in kind. So, but now I do something that nobody can use in kind. So this is the interesting thing. The network basically enables you to donate in kind by making a donation as an obligation. So you said, okay, I will owe the social project £100, £1,000, whatever you are able to donate in kind. You don't actually donate cash. You donate in kind. Because what this does, it opens up an opportunity to close a cycle through this social project. So from very business perspective, what does it mean? I donated £100 in kind, but this basically helped me collect 100 from the network. Where I might have like overdue and things like that.
So the social project would actually issue you an invoice for £100, and then that would connect you into a cycle, which would enable you yourself to collect on your debts because it can be cleared around a loop. It's fantastic.
Yeah, okay. This is I wouldn't suggest issuing invoices because this has tax consequences. Yeah. So there could be a contract between the social project and that says, okay, there is a willingness to send a flow of up to £100 into my direction, and if this happens, will be accounted for as a donation. So this is something that happens in Slovenia too. It's perfectly legal because it is covered by private law. It's about managing financial obligations, but you need a cover contract with such an entity or with social project. But maybe this is a too heavy topic for this interview. Anyway, this is one extreme, let's say, how you create liquidity within the network. The other extreme would be...
But just to kind of stick with that for a minute, you've achieved something quite impressive there, because you've meant that this social project gets more funding. The business which is helping to fund it is also receiving a benefit, and you've actually created more local trade, basically more local economic activity, without relying on external forms of financing.
I think there are also there is a way. If you achieve this, there is a way. Then the whole community, like local loops, with this stuff, approaches impact investors and grants. Because, for example, if sometimes it's very difficult to show the impact, the social impact of funds that were granted. Now, what you can do, you can enhance the liquidity of such a system if grants are incorporated as a actual liquidity source. But now you can report to grant giver, okay, we have used 1 million pounds of impact grant, but this 1 million was not used at one spot, but it traveled through the network, and you can report. You can report exactly that there was a network multiplier within the network, and 1 million created 2.5 or 3 or 3.5 million of this discharge in the network, which is I think a good something that needs to be explored. But I think this is a huge opportunity for communities, maybe also for local councils, to think over whether this kind of systems are interesting as making sure that the funds granted are predominantly used locally. Because if it's a local council grant, they are definitely interested that this is spent as much as possible in the highest possible amount locally.
Yeah, and there's two really interesting effects there. There's exactly as you say the kind of local multiplier effect, whereby a pound which is spent locally might discharge multiple pounds worth of debt and keep the money circulating in the community, which is good in and of itself. But then also you mentioned the ability to quantify social impact, and that's something which is getting a lot of interest in the UK at the moment. So I think, as you say, all sorts of people should be paying attention to this, because the possibilities are just enormous. What I'd like to do next is just briefly come back to a topic we were talking about actually right before we started this interview, which is the effect and the benefit of all of this for supply chains. You mentioned before we started this interview that the economy is becoming more complex, supply chains are becoming longer, but there's now a lot of interest in response to global volatility, should we say, in actually relocalization and onshoring, and what the role of tools like loop clearing, multilateral trade credit set-off might play in supply chain risk, basically.
Yeah, so this is kind of a trend in the economy. So we started with environment, like raising temperatures, and how this creates volatility. What we have in economy, we have longer and longer supply chains. So this the quest for profit basically forces everyone to specialize more and more, and to bring the labor to where labor is cheapest, to bring the material production to where materials are cheaper, and this is basically stretching the supply chains. Stretched supply chain in terms of local economy just means there is less local circulation. Now, the way to offset this is to create monetary instruments that enable local circulation. But here, the problem with the current money we use, like a pound or euro or dollar, it's not really local. So it's you cannot capture, contain, or develop local community using a fiat monetary instrument. So this then raises the question how to do it. But then going back to these local social projects, since the normal supply chains are stretched everywhere, creating a local supply chain that closes up in a cycle is a really a huge challenge. Normally, it would also involve investment. So to produce something locally or to deliver certain type of services locally is simply impractical due to. Now you have to be innovative in the way you manage money, and here I think the big opportunities are tapping on the concept of local trust. So if a group of local firms trusts each other, they know each other, they support each other, but they don't have, they cannot close the cycle through a supply chain. They can close the cycle through a monetary instrument like mutual credit. And participating with a lot of small mutual credits or any other type of very small monetary expression based on local trust, local trust of people who know each other. If you participate with this as liquidity inside the multilateral trade credit systems, then you create this local circulation of value. But it involves local trust.
Right.
So it's about people trusting each other.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many directions this could go in, and all of them, frankly, involve a huge amount of technical and economic and governance work. But for me, it just seems really, really clear that the future of these systems is very much, for all the reasons you've just been describing, it is local, it is community owned and community governed, and very much based on trust, coming bottom up from the business community rather than top down from governments, for example. So for me, that's kind of probably the single biggest takeaway from the work I've been doing, the discussions we've been having over the last few years. Really, the community-based systems are the future, and that's a large part of the premise of Local Loop Merseyside.